I have seen the new Batman movie entitled The Batman, and I wanted to talk about a particular aspect of it here that interested me. Now, there will be some mild spoilers, I guess, concerning the villain uh, in the movie, who is the Riddler, um, and who only gets introduced to us. Although we see him before this point, but he only really gets introduced to us, and we only really start to know his story um, about 2/3 of the way through the movie, maybe even more, maybe even later than that. Um, so uh, I'm not going to reveal anything though that's like an intense spoiler, but but in any case, if you want to, if you haven't seen the movie and you want to go into it totally fresh and not know anything about the Riddler or what animates him or what he stands for, then save watching this until you've seen the movie. Um, okay, fair warning on that. So the Riddler is played by Paul Dano, and I really enjoyed his performance. Kind of like with Joker before it. He is a certain there is a Joker esque quality to him, insofar as he's like this nobody and just somebody who feels totally beaten down by society and by his circumstances, feels ignored, feels unloved. And what's the saying? A boy who doesn't feel love from the village will burn it down to feel its warmth, or something like that. I totally butchered um, that dictum, but you know what I'm talking about. I think you know what I'm referring to. So the Riddler is somebody who, it turns out, used to be an orphan, or was an orphan, was born an orphan, was an orphan as long as he could remember, and was relegated to the orphan program, to an orphanage in Gotham City. This was a program that it turned out that Bruce Wayne's father meant to give a lot of money to, or ended up funding to a great extent. One of the projects to improve Gotham City involved the orphanages. But then after his father was killed, this money got redirected, and it got absorbed by all of these corrupt um, elites who running Gotham, who all just wanted a piece of the pie, and who got in tight with organized crime, and basically there was little uh, distinction between the organized crime lords of the city and the law enforcement of the city. There was just the corruption ran so deep, uh, as to that being the case, and as a result, the orphans were generally forgotten. And in the scene where Paul Dano's Riddler speaks with Batman, there are some interesting aspects of this scene. Once again, I really do think that that Joker, the 2019 movie Joker, had some influence over uh, the shape and development of this character, because Paul Dano's Riddler and Joaquin Phoenix's Joker have a lot in common as far as their motivation for turning to a life of crime, wanting to get back, to strike back at the world that has spurned them, and kept them down. Um, and so there's I would say this is a more angst angst-filled kind of character, but somebody who is also deeply psychopathic, and doesn't care about who he harms in the process of taking out the corruption, taking out the trash as he sees it. And the theme of orphans, or of the what should we call it, the state of being an orphan. um, I'm not sure, orphanhood, I guess we could call it. um, it definitely is prevalent in the film, in that Bruce Wayne also, of course, Bruce Wayne slash Batman, also is an orphan, as is Selina, or Catwoman. Uh, and we also see a boy at the beginning of the movie, one of the corrupt uh, officials, actually the mayor, the current mayor, who is targeted by the Riddler, and is killed in a fairly horrific manner in his own home, in the style of a serial killer. We see the boy afterwards, who's now rendered an orphan as well, and there's a connection between Bruce Wayne and this boy, and also a connection between them and the Riddler, insofar as uh, these are all now characters who have been orphaned, and who all in their own way feel cast off from society, and who want to get back at it in one way or another. Um, there's a suggestion in the movie that this Batman hasn't yet gotten to be known as Batman. When he's asked what his name is, or who he is, he identifies himself as Vengeance, and it's sort of implied that Vengeance is the moniker that he sort of loosely carries. Other than that, there's no he doesn't really have uh, any any designation, except being a vigilante, a winged vigilante, as he's referred to by another mayoral candidate. So, as is often the case, I've noticed this no matter um, what Batman movie we're talking about. And if I were more of a comic book person, I'm sure I would see this also develop in the Batman comics. The Batman is kind of a blank slate. He's not as interesting. He's never as interesting as the villain, because the villains are all very flamboyant, and they all come out and do their thing and show their stuff. And Paul Dano, when he appears, it's a definite scenery chewing sort of scene, but it's very effective, and I really do enjoy him in this role. Uh, Similar to Joker, there's a certain empathy that one has for him when he recounts the horror of his life as it was lived in the orphanage, and with the other children, how they were all forgotten, and recounting things like every year, it was too cold, and a baby would die. Just these kind of heartrending details, which kind of make you sympathize with him, as well as the fact that the people that he's killing are all bad people. They're corrupt people for the most part. But then you also find out that he has absolutely no care uh, about how the innocent are affected by his actions. And like I talked about with the son of the mayor, who is orphaned in his very first attack. And the plan that he ultimately comes up with is one, and I won't give too much away as far as that goes, but it's one in which the entire city of Gotham will suffer, because he blames the entire city for he sees the corruption as being more or less indistinguishable from the entirety of the city, and he thinks the entirety of the city needs to pay. Um, of course, he loses. In that sense, you lose empathy for him because he seems not to have any empathy for all the innocents who he will kill or hurt by his actions. But he also has this, and normally, normally I would roll my eyes at this notion of all these people radicalized on the internet. I would see that as as propaganda, to try to pro censorship propaganda to talk about, fringe types on the internet who are encouraged, or who all become this guy's uh, um, helpers in this terroristic act that he wants to carry forth. But it's done in such a way that it doesn't come across as preachy or condemning or condescending. Um, it's just that there is such a reservoir of resentment. There are so many lonely, angry, forgotten, ignored, stepped on orphans or orphan types, people who feel themselves to be orphaned out there. And the Riddler connects with these people in the movie, and they become his minions in carrying out this plan, even though at this point the Riddler himself has been arrested. I enjoy how the movie takes the Riddler's character. The Riddler has always been a villain in the Batman universe, and takes it in a direction that it's a little different, and it's actually a little scarier, but it's also more intimate, and as I said, more relatable in a way, because he's not just this cackling maniacal riddle me this, Batman, kind of campy sort of character, but instead he's this very gritty, um, kind of dark, evil kind of person. But what motivates him is something that I think we can all relate to on some level. So on some level, we're all in a way on his side, or at least interested interested enough to see what exactly he's plotting, and to try to understand what makes him tick, what's gotten him to be the way that he is. I think if we may extrapolate the issue of orphanhood into our world, I think we live in a world where, in the West anyway, particularly, the family has eroded to such an extent, and fatherlessness. Uh, Fathers play a less significant role in the lives of their kids, due to the breakup of the family, due to divorce, and rulings of family courts, and so forth. And we see the effect that fatherlessness has on all of these characters, including Bruce Wayne, um, who lost his father and his mother as a young child, but particularly on boys, and the way that the effect that the lack of nurturance, or the absence of uh, having mothers and fathers in your life invested in you, uh, um, teaching you, helping you become the kind of person that you were meant to be, and being your lifeline, being somebody that helps you to feel rooted in the world. Um, Instead, what we've got so much today is if not a literal orphanhood, a literal state of orphanhood, then orphanhood in all but name for so many people growing up. Since the dawn of the sexual revolution, since the 70s and 80s, since two-parent homes, two-parent working homes, since the rise of divorce, which started with my generation, you know, with people my age, my peers, we were the first to grow up with divorce and its effects. Not that people didn't get divorced before that, but the extent to which divorce was taking place in our culture, and the role that it played, where so many of us were basically left on our own. Um, and that's the kind of the the continuing sexual revolution really helped to militate against and erode the family. And so what we have in many ways in our culture is what is mirrored in the Gotham City that's presented in this film, The Batman. What we have side by side are corrupt elites um, who have who have sold out to the dark side, who aren't interested in doing the right thing and doing the jobs that they were supposed to do to help serve the people and promote the common good and so forth. We see that they are all, or so not all of them, because there are exceptions, but so many of them, so many of the high level people are taken in, are have sold out to this evil, to this darkness. And parallel to that, you have these orphans uh, operating in this world, where their parental figures have either failed them or been taken from them, and they've just been ignored and relegated to these literal or figurative orphan houses that are not well funded, and that simply get ignored by the city, and kids live terrible lives. They die young, and nobody cares about them. Nobody thinks twice about them, and and so as a result, a lot of them, many of them, particularly the Riddler, become monsters. Because again, I'm laughing because if I were better prepared, I would have that koan or whatever it is, that saying, that dictum before me. But the boy who doesn't feel the warmth of love will burn down the village to feel its warmth. Um, that's what the Riddler is. That's what he does. That's the position he occupies in this movie. So I do recommend it. I think it's a really good movie. Might be a little long, but I think it's worthwhile and an interesting new take on this perennial, of course, archetypal story that is Batman in Gotham City, and and the characters who lurk therein. Thanks for watching.